Okay, we are recording the meeting so that we can post it later on the WDC 2024 website. And it'll also be available on the grants portal so that you can come back anytime and review it. We also may reach the maximum for the number of people that are able to participate. So if there's somebody that you want on your team to see it that can't get in, this will be available for them as well. Welcome. I am switch this over to the PowerPoint, but I'm going to begin by just asking you if you'd like to put your name in the chat and the organization that you represent. I think chat should be open to everybody. We were having a little technical difficulty with this yesterday, making sure everybody could. There we go. Yes. We had all the bells and whistles. It's the first time I've used the interpretation piece of this. So we're trying all the enhancements out. Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome to the World Design Capital 2024 Community Driven Grants Program information session. I am Victoria Pletner-Saunders, the WDC Grants Program Consultant, and I'll be leading this session. And anybody who sends an email to grants@wdc2024.org, you're sending the emails to me, so I'll be the one answering any of your questions in the future. With me, don't believe you can see her here, but with me is Rebecca Satura. She is a certified court interpreter and translator. She is providing the Spanish language translation assistance if needed. Again, if you're just joining us and you need the Spanish translation, click on the interpretation little icon in
ese pequeño icono, cuando me refiero a lo que es el gutter en la parte inferior al calce de su página, y podrán activar eso para que ustedes lo puedan escuchar. Y la versión grabada también tendrá esa característica. También estamos incluyendo una liga en el chat con las pautas de la beca. Si no tienen una copia hasta ahorita o no la tienen a la mano, vamos a incluirlas en el chat para que ustedes puedan rápidamente echar un vistazo a estas y dar seguimiento a esto según vayamos en marcha con esto. Voy a compartir mi pantalla. Voy a ponerlo aquí en presentación de diapositiva. Ahí está. Esta es la agenda del día de hoy. Empezamos con las presentaciones más o menos, pero también vamos a explicar un poco acerca de lo que es la WDC 2024. Sé que es nuevo para algunos de nosotros, pero no es nuevo para otros. Y así que les vamos a dar un poco de información con relación a esto. Vamos a repasar el programa, las pautas de las becas, y vamos a hablar acerca del proceso de revisión y de selección. Así como también les vamos a enseñar el portal de la solicitud, porque eso es un poco confuso a veces. No es algo
used before until today, or excuse me, until we set this up. And there's just a few areas of it that you'll want to be sure you take the time to understand as you're developing your proposal. So we'll also finish with dates and deadlines, and we will have the Q&A. All right, let's go next. There we go. So World Design Capital 2024 it's a year-long event, as this says, showcasing San Diego, Tijuana region as a global destination for arts, culture, innovation, and design. It's very specific to arts, culture, innovation, and design. but it brings together residents and global leaders to celebrate, exchange ideas, and demonstrate how cities can develop collaboratively, united by the physical spaces, economies, and cultures that we share. It is the first cross-border region to have the World Design Capital designation by the World Design Organization, which is an international organization. And it is the first time a US city has been selected for this honor. There's a little more information about what we refer to as WDO and WDC and our partners in the grants program guidelines. And I encourage you to take a look at those pages to familiarize yourself a little bit more with the program that you're applying to for funding. So there are 4 goals for WDC 2024. You can see them all here. It's really about showcasing all that our region has to offer, as I explained earlier, positioning ourselves as a global destination for arts, culture, innovation, and design transformation. It's to be an example to the world of design, to show how cities can develop collaboratively, united by the physical spaces, economies, and cultures they share, rather than being divided by what makes us different. It is to strengthen the way our region thinks and works together, both now and beyond 2024. We want cross-border collaboration and community-driven design to apply to all our work as a region so that it can help solve some of our most pressing issues. And finally, it's to highlight design that is community-driven and includes as many distinct voices, perspectives, and experiences as possible in the promotion and execution of human-centered design principles. So there are several terms that we will use in the guidelines and application and throughout this information session that may be new to some of you. And understanding them is really important for designing an activity that meets the review criteria. So the first is community-driven design activity. What are we referring to when we're asking you to put a proposal together for an activity? It is a program, a project, an event, could be a festival, activation, or other similar activity that is open to the public, addresses one or more of the core focus areas, and has the potential to lead to lasting change in the region through humanity-centered design. And we will talk about humanity-centered design next. So what is it? Some of you have probably heard of human-centered design, and this is a more holistic approach when we talk about humanity-centered design. So it is concerned with the whole ecosystem, not just humans and how everything interacts with not just humans, but how everything interacts with each other. For this program, humanity-centered activities should endeavor to align with the 5 humanity-centered design principles. So we'll ask you in the application to tell us how your activity, your proposed activity, aligns with or follows these any of these design principles. So it's about solving the core root issues, not just the problem. We often try to solve for a symptom, but not really address the underlying problem. It's focusing on the entire ecosystem of people, physical environment, all living things. It takes a long-term systems point of view. Sometimes the most complications result from an interdependency of multiple parts, and many of those damaging implications come upon society and the ecostructure. They only reveal themselves years or even decades later. We're trying to avoid that by looking on the long view. Continually testing and refining proposed designs to ensure they truly meet the concerns of the people and the ecosystems for whom they are intended. And being designed with the community, and as much as possible supporting designs by the community, so that grant program applicants serve as enablers, facilitators, and resources, aiding the community to meet their concerns. This is really drawing from what you hear from the community and helping to solve a problem with them, but also really having them as part of having the end users, the participants as part of your process. So, all right, here are the 6 core focus areas: arts and culture, climate and sustainability, health and well-being, planning and placemaking, science and technology, and youth and education. You will be asked to select at least one of these core focus areas in the design of your activity. This is actually right out of the guidelines. So if you need to refer back to it, you can find it in your guidelines. There's also 2 other areas of interest. One is WDC is encouraging applications that address homelessness or innovative border design within the focus areas. So if either of those 2 are areas of interest for your organization or your business, you can fit those within the other categories, within the focus areas. Also, the city has a real commitment to supporting children and youth. This is fully funded by the city of San Diego. So there were certain things they wanted to make sure that we included that helped them meet their goals. So while it's not a core focus area, eligibility requirement or a guarantee of funding, we're looking for applicants to describe how their activity is by design, in whole or in part, to benefit children and youth. If you include this benefiting children and youth within one of the other focus areas, you will receive an advantage in the scoring process. You can incorporate that as part of any one of those core focus areas. And there is the one focus area around children, youth, and education. So this would be a logical outgrowth of that. But we have these other areas that you can think about in terms of your application. So let's move to the eligibility requirements. This has been probably one of the biggest questions I've been asked so far. And these, again, were determined by the city as part of the funding this program. So they would like to see San Diego-based organizations. You must be headquartered within the city limits, the city of San Diego. And all the program activities must take place in San Diego. You can have partners that are outside the city, that may be somewhere else in the region. But we want to be sure that the applicant is here and that the activities are here. So we're looking for 501c3 nonprofit arts, culture, or design organizations, or designated arts and culture districts. There are a lot of organizations that are nonprofit organizations that provide arts activities or cultural activities, maybe as one aspect of what they do. Unless arts and culture is in your mission and your mission statement, you would need to find a partner who does fit within that criteria to apply as the lead applicant. We also have 501c6 organizations. Those are nonprofit business or community associations. Often they're seen as professional associations. This could also include community development corporations. Business improvement districts and PBIDs, property business improvement districts, as well as businesses, for-profit businesses that are certified as small local business enterprises or emerging local business enterprises, and is already on the city's SLBE, ELBE vendor list. If you are a regular, local business and you are not on that list, then you would need to find a partner to work with you who fits one of the other eligibility criteria. We also allow applicants who do not meet at least one of the eligibility criteria to use a fiscal sponsor. Sometimes these are collectives, particularly with arts and culture or design folks. You could have a collective that doesn't have the status, but if you are working with a fiscal sponsor, they can be the lead applicant. We also are really encouraging applicants from all 9 city council districts. When we are in the final stages and determining which projects are ultimately funded, we will be taking into consideration a good diverse disbursement of activities throughout the 9 council districts. So if you're in one of the ones that doesn't often have opportunities, or you're not in the downtown core, do not worry. We are really interested in seeing what you can provide. So the available funds. There are 99 plus people on this call, which means we're going to have a lot of applications. It will be highly competitive. We have $550,000 to spend, and we are contracted to spend it as you see here. There will be 4 $75,000 grants, 8 $25,000 grants, and 5 $10,000 grants. We are also directing about $250,000 towards applications that specifically identify how their activity, either in whole or in part, benefits children and youth. You are not required to have matching funds. We encourage them because it makes a more holistic program. It also means you're not just relying on this funding to be able to do your project. There are advantages in the budget section of the scoring for matching funds, for the reason that it shows more of a commitment and the ability to carry out the project. So again, they're not required, but strongly encouraged. The application review process. Phase 1 will go through all the applications to ensure that they meet all the eligibility requirements that we've already discussed and that it's a complete submittal. And then they will go to the grant review committee, which will be a committee of approximately 7 community members, subject matter experts in the core focus areas, and those who understand the role of community-driven projects in the community. They will review them, discuss them, and score them. And those that have a score of 4 or 5 on a 5-point scale will be considered for funding. And I'll talk you through that 5-point scale. Then the grants program, all of those 4s and 5s will come back to the program staff and we'll make the final determinations, ensuring that we have good representation in the council districts citywide, that the core focus areas are addressed, and that there's a diverse array of activities for public participation. This is the rating scale. So 5s and 4s are exemplary and strong. There are a lot more details in the guidelines around what constitutes a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1 that specifically align with the review criteria. So you can see how the review criteria will be looked at in each of these areas and for each of these on this rating scale. Exemplary is cream of the crop. You hit all the right marks. It fully achieves the purpose of the program, and it responds to the review criteria, and it meets the requirements to the highest degree. Strong is not exemplary, but really good. We then move down into fair, marginal, and weak. The only reason why at this point we're not looking at including threes for funding is because we will probably have enough fours and fives, given the fact that we only have 17 proposals possible, 17 awardees from this program, that we probably won't be able to go any lower than a 4. Here are just some important reminders, and this will come up in the as I walk through the design, the portal with you. But I want to remind you to take advantage of all of the assistance that is available to you. We've got the Humanity-Centered Design Workshop coming up next week. You can look at the WDC 2024 website for the RSVP link for that. You can drop into office hours. We have 4 office hours scheduled at different times. They're all on the portal. They are also all listed in the guidelines. 2 of those, I think the first one and the last one, will have Spanish translation available. You can go back and review this information session as many times as you want. I've had people in the past who say they, on another grant program, who said they followed along as I took them through the grants portal to fill out their application, and it really helped. So you'll have access to it. And send questions to me at grants@wdc2024.org. Do pay specific attention to the goals, the focus areas, the concept of humanity-centered design in your proposal, and the application review and scoring section on page 12. As we go through the application, you'll see how those all connect up in ways that understanding them and aligning with them is critical for those 4s and 5s. Also, do not wait to get started. If you have an idea and you're getting ready to go, I highly suggest you start now. You don't have to, submit it until the day it's due on the 31st, but there could be some potential technical issues that you might have with the application portal. I went through and did a test run of the portal, and I had issues when I was for the learning curve for the media library where you put your work samples. So I'll go through it with you, but I really recommend that you start early on those. Okay, I am going to stop screen sharing. And we are going to switch over to the portal, and we will have time for questions and answers at the end, so hold on to them. I know with so many people on, if I started now, we wouldn't get through the end. So, so hold on to them. All right. I am going to log in as though I have a new account. And this is me. I am Mary Tester. And we're going to log in. I hope it works. There we go. This is the first page that you'll see. You can see the application that you've started working on. This is the deadline right there. Little program description. If you look in the upper corners, you have the forms here, the media library, which I will discuss later, and additional resources. The additional resources are pretty much everything that's in the guidelines in some format. There's just about everything that you would want to know, so you can quickly go over and look at it without having to thumb through the guidelines. But this also has, I've had a lot of people asking about the technical assistance. When are the office hours? What are the links? This link here will take you over to that. Here you can sign up for the workshop next week and also have the links for the future office hours. So I will now go back to the home page. And I will get started here on the application. You'll hit the edit button and get started. So easy, first part is easy. Just tell us which grant request amount you're requesting. And then you can save the work. You don't have to save. If you don't save the work, it's not going to save. But you can move ahead and look at future sections. This isn't one of those where unless you fill it out, you're not going to be able to advance. You can advance to other pages through this table of contents on this side. So this is standard information you're all familiar with. The organization, the lead organization name. If you've got a DBA, use that. And when we say organization, we're talking about businesses as well. Those PBIDs, the SLBEs, those are all the same. You will select your eligibility area. And again, this is very specific to arts and culture or design organizations or the nonprofit business associations, the C6s, or the cultural districts in the nonprofit realm. And then you may be an organization that's applying with a fiscal sponsor as well. Tell us if you are. If you are, you will get a separate set of questions to complete to give us some information on the fiscal sponsor. But if you say no, you will not see those questions. And we just want contact information. And we want to know your city council district. And if you don't know your city council district, you can use the district locator. This will take you out to the city's website. And we want you to upload eligibility documentation. This is an easy upload. This is the one that you're all familiar with, where you hit upload and then it takes you to somewhere in your own library of documents on your own computer. So this one's an easy one. If you've got it on your computer, you'll be able to upload it here. So that's the first page. This is where the applicant overview, part 2 through 6, these are all of the areas that are scored. So applicant overview has 10 points. We want, your organization's mission or purpose, how you fulfill it, who do you serve, what kinds of programs do you have? Tell us a little bit about yourself. How do you engage with your community? Why are you interested? How does this opportunity align with your mission? And then, does your organization have signature events? This helps us understand any previous experience you've had with a program that is on scale with the type you might be proposing here. And any experience with large-scale activities. And with that was an easy one. We're just getting started. The next is activity design. This is the bulk of the points. We want a title, a description of the activity in just 2 or 3 sentences. Then tell us what the core focus area is, or core focus areas. You can select more than one by holding I guess it's the command button down, or control. And then tell us if your application addresses one of the other areas that we've talked about: homelessness, innovative border design. Again, you need to answer the question, but there's no requirement. This is not an area that is going to be considered for scoring. It's just for our knowledge. And then the city council districts that your activity will take place in. You can do them in more than one district. We also have one for citywide, if it's something that you see all districts being able to participate in. Then tell us how you propose presenting your activity within the timeline, March 15th, this upcoming March 15th through November 30th. We know it's a short period of time, so we just want to know how you're thinking about that. Activity location, be as specific as possible. If it's in a neighborhood, if it's something, on the certain blocks on the, in San Isidro, if it's, try to explain to us as well as you can where it is located. And if it's if you say citywide, tell us how it will take place in all 9 council districts. Your activity goals, what do you want to achieve? And then a narrative description. This one, you've got 2,000 characters. It's a good amount of space. Tell us about your collaborators or partners, if it's something new for your organization. Maybe it's something you've already had experience presenting and you're putting a twist on it. How it addresses the core focus areas and supports the WDC goals. And then again, we want you to be much more specific about the core focus areas, because this is a key part of the funding program. We want you to be real specific about how you connect with those. How many people do you anticipate engaging or serving? Do you have a large audience? Is it a street festival? What is it? How will you determine how many people will be there? Who is your intended audience? These are publicly accessible, so it may be young people between the ages of, 3 and 21. It may be, all ages. It may be people in a particular community. It may be people with a particular interest in something like climate and sustainability. Just tell us who you're trying to reach. And then identify if your activity benefits children and youth, and if so, how. You have to answer the question. If your project doesn't, just say it doesn't, and that's fine. And then the question about short-term collective impact or long-term systemic change through humanity-centered design. We want you to give us a little detail on that. And how does your project reflect the unique San Diego, Tijuana cross-border cultural and economic ecosystem? How do you reflect in your activity this large regional area that we call the San Diego, Tijuana cross-border area? And then tell us about your long-term potential for the project. Do you have a plan for continuing it? How might that happen? Tell us about how you've used humanity-centered design in the development and implementation of your activity. How will you engage stakeholders and audiences on both sides of the border? And how you will ensure a publicly accessible activity. That is the big part. Then we'll have you talk to us a little bit about the management for your activity. Provide us with brief biographies of your key leadership. This is a PDF upload, and you can just upload it like you uploaded the eligibility documentation. Do not include outside links to websites, because we won't be viewing them. There's no guarantee that if you use it, there's no guarantee that all of the panelists will actually go out to the website, and they may not see what you want them to see. So we ask that you not use links either for this information or for the work samples. Tell us about your partners and collaborators. These would be people outside of your particular organization as the lead applicant. Provide information about what role they're playing, and if they're already confirmed at the time that you're making the application, or if they are unconfirmed. And upload that document. If you are submitting a proposal alone and you don't have collaborators, you can skip uploading this. Just know that if there is no document here, the application reviewers will assume that your organization is the sole participant. This one, it's not going to remind you at the end to upload this document. So if you intend to upload it, be sure you do. The timeline. Provide us with provide us with an sort of an overall timeline. It can change. This isn't cut in stone. But given the fact that it runs from starting in March, we want to know how you plan to implement it over the time period and how you will meet your goals that you previously stated. We also, it's helpful to know if any aspect of your activity requires city permitting. You may not know, and that's okay. I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer. If you do know, it's helpful for us to know because it just sort of gives us a sense of the support that we would be providing on the city's end for this. The budget, activity expenses, this populates, once you put everything in, it will add it up for you. So, oops, excuse me. So this is, be sure to tell us the budget for the project manager, whoever's in charge that you have identified earlier. Artistic staff and contractors, any personnel that's in production or tech support, and then non-personnel, facilities and equipment, production, technical, materials and supplies. These could be rentals. The funding can be used for anything in support of the program, the activity that you're proposing. The limitations you will find in the guidelines. Purchasing food is a limit. You cannot purchase food, alcohol. You can't purchase equipment. You can rent equipment, but these are all sort of city limitations to funding. So be sure to read that list. And once you've saved that work, it will add everything up. And then you will tell us about your grant request amount. Just put that in here. It should be the same as what you said earlier. And then any confirmed income that you have that is additional to the grant money, and then any that you that you project might be coming in, but is unconfirmed. And if you say that you've got confirmed income, you need to be prepared to provide proof of that upon request, just so that we know that that it is confirmed. It makes it more clear that the activity that you're proposing could actually take place if you've got enough funding for it. And then you got 5 points for budget notes. This is just to provide any additional information. Maybe it's about the confirmed sources of income, or you've made projections that you feel like you need to explain, or you include a category called other or consultants that are very generic, and you want to tell us what's behind those numbers. Just help the panelists understand the story behind your projections. We're almost done here. Getting to the work samples, again, allow yourself extra time. Read all the instructions. Go down to this part here and read the instructions. What you need to do in this case is, this is where your media library is helpful. You upload your videos, audio, images, you upload those to the media library first. And then when you come back to, when you come back to your page for work samples, you will pull them from that library of resources and pull them in, and you'll attach them through these buttons. You can have 5 image files, 3 audio files, 3 video files, and 3 document files. If you don't see thumbnails of your media in this section below, you'd see them here. If you don't see them, they have not been attached. That's how you can be sure that we'll be able to see them. Again, don't include links to the newspaper for a critical review or to your own website. We will not accept the links. And once you have done that, you can provide us with notes. We want an annotated list. Tell us what we're looking at, so that the panelists know how to interpret what you're providing as evidence of your ability to carry out the project, the activity that you're proposing. Finally, you hit the submission page. Once you've hit the final submit, this will tell you what's missing. As you can tell, I didn't fill anything out. So the parts that I didn't fill out, they're all here. So you will be able to go back and fix what you may have overlooked in filling out the application. So there really should be no incomplete applications being submitted. But once you've gone through that, then you it will give you a confirm, submit. You will submit it. You will get a response back saying it is confirmed, and you are good to go. So I'm going to come back, stop the share, and do a quick overview of, super quick overview of the dates that we have. Let me share the screen here. Okay, here we are, January 5th. The next thing coming up is the workshop at Park and Market. Here are the dates for the virtual office hours. The 12th and the 29th have Spanish translation. These are times when you just drop in. There's a Zoom link. You just drop in and ask your questions, and you can listen to other people's questions to get more information that you may not have realized you didn't know. They're really helpful. They're kind of a lot of fun. Deadline is the 31st, 5 o'clock sharp. The grant portal will shut down at 5. Awardee notification will go out on the 20th. By the 15th, those 17 awardees will be able to get started. The funding, there's an 85% initial payout on the award, so that you can get going. This is not one where you have to go for reimbursement of expenses. You'll have that first, majority of the money up front, and then the rest at activity when you've completed the activity. So there we have it. We will take questions, and it looks like we've got a lot of them. The easiest way to do this, I think, is through the chat. It looks like, Joanna, you've already kind of gotten started with that. Is that right? Are there any questions in the chat that have not been answered? She's not answering me. All right. Then I'm going to unmute Victor. And can you ask me your question, Victor? You are on mute. Okay. We will move on to Dennis Larkin.
Hi.
Hi.
I had two questions.
Yes.
On the images part, can we submit a PowerPoint?
If there's no more than 3 images, or whatever the number was, I think it's 3 images, 5 images, whatever the number of images are, if you submit a PowerPoint, submit it as a
Each image counts as one.
Each image counts as one, yes.
Okay. And the second question is, I'm looking at our group of 100 that's sitting right here. There's some pretty heavy hitters here. And there's also a bunch of grassroots people. How do you juggle the two of them? Somebody that has a lot of funding is going to put up a presentation for you guys that you'll be dancing to. Somebody that is grassroots is going to struggle to be able to meet that, and yet their idea follows along all of the criteria, and it's something that it definitely should be moved forward with. How do you, as judges, evaluate that, or is it just the big guys are going to come in with the big presentations and there you go?
Everyone is taken within its own, for what it's providing. What we want are programs. I don't care if it's a major organization or a small organization. We're going to fund programs that are very clear about how they meet the core focus areas, align with humanity-centered design, and the WDC goals.
Cool. Thank you.
So as long as
Sorry,
that's the criteria. Swooshy proposals,
Not going to get it.
that's not part of the criteria.
Right. Cool.
Okay. Juan.
Yes, thank you so much. My question was, the activities are supposed to take place in the city of San Diego, I understand it. But does that limit the participation in activities only to the people inside of San Diego, or can other people from the Tijuana region of the other side of the border be included?
Yes. Yeah, they have to take place here, but we're clearly not going to have you put guardrails around your activity and say you're in and you're out by any stretch.
Of course, thank you so much.
Okay.
And just a quick second question, if I may. If we use a fiscal sponsor, does that fiscal sponsor have to be also inside of the activities of art, culture, or design?
No. Your fiscal sponsor, we know there are a number of fiscal sponsors. Mission Edge is one that's commonly used. They're just acting as the fiduciary, the responsible fiduciary party for accepting the funds and, the management of that grant. Whoever they are not the lead, they're the lead applicant, but they are not the organization that is making the application. So if you use one, everything about the organization will be about your group, not about the fiscal sponsor.
Okay, got it. Thank you
If
so
that
much.
makes sense. Okay.
It does, yeah.
I think I've got Jennifer next.
Hi there. I just wondered whether we can apply for funding for projects that have already been designated as WDC projects.
Excellent question. Yes, if you've already been endorsed as a WDC, an endorsed program through the UCSD Design Lab, you may apply for funding for that project. There is
Great.
no guarantee, though, that because you are endorsed, it doesn't give you an automatic boost in your scoring. It just means that, you've had time to think it out.
Okay, great. No, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Beth?
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Regarding the question on the PowerPoint earlier, I believe there's a category of attached document. Wouldn't that be where we would attach a PowerPoint document?
Well, actually, now that I think about it, PowerPoints are not, I don't believe they're one of the accepted formats.
Okay, but it could be a PDF.
But if it's a PDF, yes.
Okay, great. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm just clarifying. Thanks.
Yep, nope, that's good. R. McDonald.
Hello. I'd like to get an understanding of matching funds. Like, for example, say you were to apply to a set for the $75,000 grant. Would you have to have $75,000 in matching funds? Or could you have 5,000, 10,000, 20,000? Is it one
You-
for one, or is it just some
No,
portion?
there's no matching funds requirement.
No,
at
but
all.
in order to get the 5 points.
Oh, it's just having additional funds. So that if you have you're asking for, $75,000, but you've got a project that costs $100,000, you're going to want to match, you're going to want to add funds to it.
And if you are able to add the 25,000 in matching, then you
Mhm.
would get the 5 additional points. Is that the way that would work?
It's really within the context of the budget and the proposal. So what we're trying not to do is have people rely solely on that grant funding to fund the entire project.
Oh, I understand that. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand how the additional points are awarded. Can you explain that process?
Well, it's not additional points. It's sort of there's 5 points available for the budget. And if you show a full budget, the budget makes absolute sense. It aligns with the scope of the project, and you have additional funds to show that it's all, you've got it all covered. Pretty good chance you're going to get a 5 on that section. It all goes within. If you have a sketchy budget and you show a whole lot of matching funds and they're all unconfirmed, that's a little iffy. So simply having matching funds is not necessarily a guarantee of
What
getting
do you need to
a higher
do to
score.
confirm matching funds? What's the requirement for you guys to feel comfortable that
Well, if you're using money from another grant, show us that you have that other grant. And this is only if we ask you. If you're saying, I'm gonna, it's money from the Dr. Seuss Foundation, we want something showing that you've got funding coming from the Dr. Seuss Foundation. You're not just saying that and, you do apply and you don't get the funding, and then you don't, you understand.
Would a letter from the foundation that you're indicating is going to provide the matching funding suffice as sufficient?
Yes.
A letter of intent to provide
Yes.
matching?
If you're asked, yes. And if you're
Okay.
asked, we'll tell you what we need.
Okay,
Okay.
understood. And just to review, you're saying that there are not, because when I read the guidelines, it seemed from my perspective to state that if you have matching funds, you will be awarded 5 additional points.
No,
Up to 5 additional points. Is that incorrect?
no, that is incorrect.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You can get the maximum number of points, assuming that your budget all makes sense otherwise.
So can you also get the maximum number of points without matching funds?
You could.
Okay.
It is possible. It's all in the context of what else you provide in that budget.
Understood.
Okay. I'm going to move on to Sarah because we're running out of time. So Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. So if it's 2 organizations partnering and one is based in San Diego and one's not, presumably the San Diego based one is the core applicant, but how much of that background information, mission statement, work samples, leadership information do you want from the outside partners?
We want that in that section that says collaborators and partners. So if you're coming in with another, you're the lead applicant. We want all the information about your organization, your management, how you're planning to manage that project with your folks, and then tell us about who those collaborators are. Who else are you applying with?
Great, and then that's just open-ended, like include as much information as we have for them.
Yeah. Tell us about their role in it, how are they helping to implement it?
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Bianca?
Hi, I just wanted to ask, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for the long-term impact, for youth, educational related programs, what kind of long-term impact will you, like, how will you define long-term? Is that looking into, like students, working with students for future years or systemic change or like what kind of like long-term, because that can be like very, very broad and depending on, like any insights you can provide on that.
Um, if you do a program for youth and it's something that, I mean, the question is asked about, we're looking for things that could be potentially carried on after the project time. Because really, if you go back and think about the WDC 2024 goals, it's about thinking about how we solve problems differently using humanity-centered design, and hopefully being able to instigate activities that then can be carried out after the 2024 WDC initiative celebration year is over. We're, the part of the, fundamental philosophy is we want to see change happen, good change happen in San Diego and the region. And so, a one-off could be good, but if you can say, this gets us started and we'll continue the program this way, or we have, partners who can track long-term impact. I realize it's open-ended, and I would hate, I hate to say, what does that mean to you? But in many respects, it's what it means to you. So if you can say, this is our goal for long-term impact, will change how young people, engage with climate sustainability and take on projects, and this will go with them for a long time. This is something that's a learned skill that they'll be able to continue to use these tools, into the future. So that could be considered a long-term change. Okay, I'm going to go to Helise.
I think you already answered this question, but you kept talking about San Diego City, and we're in county or we're in Carlsbad, but our work is all over San Diego and in Tijuana. So do we meet that criteria?
No.
So we can't, because we're situated in Carlsbad, so we're out of the city. Right.
If you have a partner that you're working with on it and they are in the city, consider having them be the applicant.
Okay. Okay, that's very clear. I'm glad I asked that question.
Great.
Thank you.
Jorge.
Yes, thank you. This might be connected with the last question, but is there a possibility to partner with an organization in Tijuana? And if so, can part of the activities occur in Mexico? I do understand that the fiscal project is based in San Diego, and it's managed in San Diego, but I wonder if there can be activities occurring in Mexico within a project proposed within this this grant.
Yeah, we're assuming that some things, some of this is about cross-border collaboration, and building bridges and connections between the two. So if, the program takes place, let's say it takes place in San Isidro, and there's an element of it that crosses the border that makes connections on both sides. And so it impacts people on the south side of the border. That's fine. But it has to be within that, what do we call it, Joanna? The sort of the metropolitan region of Tijuana. This isn't about going down into Mexico City. It's about the very near border.
Yes, I was referring to,
Yeah.
being in Tijuana and,
Yeah.
crossing the border south.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it can be on both sides. And Joanna, who is the WDC operations director, did I get the answer to that one right? I know this is sometimes a question because of city funding.
Yes, the intent of the city is that the money be utilized in San Diego, in the city of San Diego. But there is some room for especially larger budgets that are doing things in multiple places, that this money be added to a project that is working on both sides of the border. So that would certainly be allowed. There's also been a question about, can you pay an artist or collaborator who's in Tijuana with these funds? And I think there's also some leeway in that regard as well. If you are part of a large project and you have multiple collaborators and this is just part of the funding for your overall project, then yes.
Thank you
And
for addressing.
yeah, and that's a good point, Joanna. That's one of the encouraging matching funds. So if you have a project, you can say we're not using the city funds for that. That's what the matching funds are for.
And Victoria, I want to clarify, we keep using the term matching funds.
It's additional.
There are no matching funds. They're
Right.
additional funds. So
Additional
we're not requiring matching funds. I don't think the word matching funds even shows
Should
up
even
in
be
our
used as-
guidelines at all. It's the wrong term for us to be using. So we are looking to see that you have a fully built out budget, that you can bring additional funding to bear if your budget is larger than what you're asking for, especially from us. We just want to see, especially because this is a very short-term project, that you have the funding in place to actually achieve what you're saying you're going to achieve. So there isn't really time for organizations to go out and look for a lot of additional funding if they don't already have it in place to achieve the goals of the project.
Excellent answer to that question.
Victoria, I just wanted to highlight, there were a couple questions. I've been trying to go and answer questions in the chat.
I know, thank you.
Yeah, there was a good one that Maylin had asked, is the content of the portal available so that you can take it offline and work on it? Like, can you get it in a PDF or some other format so that you don't have to just work on it in the portal?
Yes, that's a good question. There is a place where it says view PDF or download PDF. There is a PDF place on there and you can see it. It's fairly prominent. You can also preview your page. It'll put it into a PDF. So before you're done, you can see how it will look in the end. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I always like to be able to look at it offline.
There was something else in the chat asking about what qualifies as youth and what is the age range for youth that we're looking for. And as far as I know, we haven't defined that. And I think that's actually defined by the city. So unless you specifically know, Victoria, I've asked people to put their email in the chat if they would like that question answered. I will confer with the city to find out exactly what the age range is that they are designating for that, because that has been designated specifically by them.
Right.
So I want to honor what it is they are intending with that.
Yes, I think children are through 18 and youth goes up to, I want to say like 21 or 24. So it moves it beyond that, but yes, we'll get it and we'll get an answer, and we'll also put it in the FAQs on the website.
Oh yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Bruce?
Mute. Thank you. I'm a professor at San Diego State University, and I'm leading an effort to develop a community-based, humanity-centered vision plan for our region. And I have partners at UABC, universities in Tijuana, and COLEF. And I'd first like to know, is it, as a representative of San Diego State University, through our nonprofit research foundation, can we apply for as a lead for a grant? And then it goes back to the question of how can we have funding, we have some additional funds, but we'd like to expand our efforts and do a better job with this grant possibly. What are the mechanisms for me to provide support to run workshops and outreach events at COLEF and UABC in Tijuana?
Well, first of all, given the art, culture, and design nonprofit designation for the eligibility requirement, Joanna, you can help me with this. I don't believe that the foundation at UCSD is,
Or SDSU.
or at SDSU, excuse me, is eligible unless they're considered a fiscal sponsor. Let's take that one offline.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more.
We can talk about that one offline.
if we need to get other partners, so there's a definition of the nonprofits that qualify for this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is a community organization, are they professional organizations that could qualify? Because we have a lot of partners in this.
Yeah. Let's, because we're already at a quarter after, let's take this one separately and we'll have a conversation about it. So we'll help you navigate it. Okay. Thank you.
I think Maylin has a really good question that she put in the chat that she'd probably like to, that I think is relevant for a lot of people.
Yeah, go ahead, Maylin, and unmute and ask your question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off from before.
That's okay. So given that this is kind of late coming out and short time frame to respond and short time frame to execute, as long as the project begins during that time frame, is it all right if it continues past November?
I would think so. If some element of it, maybe it's this part is the part that the city's funding is being used for, and it runs through November, and then it will continue with our own funding. But we have to be able to have you complete a final report based on the contract we have with the city. So all the funds have to be dispersed for a completed project, whatever that means.
Okay. Even if the project's dependent on city permitting.
Yeah,
this is notorious for taking longer.
Yeah, because this is a city-driven grant program, we have to comply with their, requirements. And so, the money hasn't been made available until just now. So that's why it's, being released now. And it has to be completed by November per, city requirements. So what that means is if you have a larger project and you can pull out a part of your project that this would fund and you could report on that, then that would work.
Okay.
Yeah. And because it's a city project, the reason why we're asking about permitting, if you know in advance that you'll need it, is so that we can help expedite permitting for these things if necessary.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And then Vanessa.
Hi, sorry about the background noise. I have my dogs here. Thank you so much for a great info session. My question is on the same topic of location, kind of piggybacking off Jorge's question. I'm assistant professor at SDSU. I launched an initiative called Building Bridges. Specifically, this initiative is dedicated to creating a graduation south of the border in Tijuana for students who graduate who have loved ones who cannot cross the border. So therefore they can attend their commencement ceremony in Tijuana. So my specific question is if this could be a possible event initiative that could be funded, and it again specifically takes place in Tijuana. It's for transborder students and families in the region.
If you can't answer the question about which council district it takes place in, I mean, that's the kind of the bottom line in terms of activities that take place in the city.
Looks like Miguel is saying 8 or 9.
There's 9. What did I say? Anyway,
7.
There are 9 council districts. And if it takes place, the activities take place in one of those council districts or more. And you can say the funding is being used for, a publicly accessible activity. in that council district and you can make that case, then you can make the application. But this is really to fund, the money goes on this side of the border, this particular funding pool. Do you have another question? Or are you just thinking?
Victoria, there was one last question. The fellow who you originally called on and he couldn't unmute himself. I think it was Vince or Vincent. I don't know if he's still on.
Victor.
But he didn't get Victor. There we go. He didn't get to answer. He may not be here any longer. So sorry about that. I asked him to type in the chat and I don't think he did. But.
Okay. All right. With that, I think we've covered all the questions. Use the email address to send me additional questions if you have them. As you can tell, this is a new program. It's got a lot of, limitations to it in some ways, but it's very open in others. And so we're, happy to engage in conversations with anyone that needs additional help, and use those office hours. Because somebody's going to be, it'll be me. We'll be available to answer your questions in that time frame, in those hours.
And you can also send questions directly to Victoria through the grants@wdc2024.org email.
And with that, we will close down, say goodbye, and good luck, and stay in touch.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending.
Everybody.
We really appreciate it. We look forward to getting some really great applications.
Yeah.